Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Durrett Steak. So I have more stuff I want to say before I wrap up for the week. So it's time to go over my top 10 college football games of the week. I'm doing this a little bit earlier because it's Thanksgiving. This is the final full week of the college football season because next week is conference championships before the final rankings come out. So let's get started with a bunch of good games on the table for this week, I feel like. So let's start with the top matchup, which is 2 Ohio State, moved up to 2, and Bama moved down to 3, and then 5 Michigan. Both 10-1 in a new Fox game. This is a very interesting game because I do feel like Michigan can never get Jim Harbaugh can never beat Ohio State. Will this finally be the year because this is their best shot to do it, or at least second best shot to do it? I if Ohio State would have struggled to beat Purdue and struggled to beat Michigan State in the past 2 weeks, then I would have actually gone Michigan for the upset here. But because Ohio State's finally found their rhythm and their defense specifically has finally performed to the way the offense can perform, I feel like Michigan won't be able to score enough on offense to kind of keep pace. Now, I do feel like Michigan's defense is that good. I know basically had some lapses against Michigan State, but all in all, as long as the offense takes care of the ball, does its part, then Michigan's defense should do its part. But I feel like, again, Michigan offense won't be able to score them. So I have Ohio State winning by 2 touchdowns. I have them winning 34-20. So not a blowout like Ohio State Michigan State was, but Ohio State should get the win here. And they'll go to the winner of this, goes to the Big Ten championship game. 2, you got 10 Oklahoma versus 7 Oklahoma State, 7:30 ABC game. This one's very interesting because, again, generally Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State. I think Mike Gundy's only won in this ride maybe twice before, and that was the one year where he got ranked third in the country. That special magical year that they had there. Back, I forgot what year it was. Back in 2014, I think 13 or whatever. But so it makes me very hesitant to pick Oklahoma State here, but I'm going to go ahead and do so, and here's one of the reasons why. One is because this is Oklahoma State's best defense since they were a top 5 team back in 2015, like I mentioned. This is their best defense, because usually the way Oklahoma is, they just want to outscore you, but that's not the case this year. They have the best defense in the Big 12 for a reason. They held Baylor, which is a very good team, only 7 points, so they're a legit offense. They haven't given a touchdown, only 1 touchdown past 4 games. That's pretty good. And then also with Oklahoma, they're inconsistent. Sometimes they look good, sometimes they look. So it's in Oklahoma State, they're good at stopping the run, so they're gonna make you throw the ball. And if they can stop the run and specifically stop Caleb Williams from gaining big yards, they're gonna have to make him throw the ball. And against Oklahoma State, I'm not sure if he's gonna be able to do that or not. So therefore, I'm going to go ahead and give Oklahoma State the win here in a close one, 27-23. Third, you got 9 Ole Miss versus Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. That's the Thursday night game on ESPN. Now, this one's very interesting because I feel like this will be a show, in my opinion. Both teams have very good offenses, so both teams will score a lot. But because Mississippi State's at home and they've kind of had the edge in the rivalry the past couple years, I know Ole Miss is the better quarterback and the better head coach and all, but I do feel like it just feels kind of like gut feeling that Mississippi State here is actually going to get the upset to kind of spoil any Ole Miss's hopes for a New Year's Six bowl game, which Mississippi State would love to do for them. So I have Mississippi State winning 35-31. Although I could be wrong there. Penn State versus 12 Michigan State. So this is a very interesting game here because, again, Penn State, they've been close. I mean, they got the impressive win over Wisconsin, and they had a good one over Auburn, although that's looking like a bad one. And that was a good one now, but it's they competed against, Michigan very hard, and that's a game they should have won. And then they were in it with Ohio State all the way till the fourth quarter, basically. It's they kept it with them, so it's I feel like Penn State can definitely keep them, and especially since Penn State, they're a good rushing defense, so they make you throw the ball. Well, Michigan State, with Kenneth Walker, they're just going to want to run the ball, and that's let's see Ohio State, because they scored a lot of offense, but also they stopped the run. Held Kenneth Walker over 23 yards, which is amazing. Because they did that, it's this could be this game can go either way. Because if Penn State, if you tell me Penn State stops the run, then I'll take Penn State here for the upset here. But sometimes, Michigan State, Michigan, for the first half of that game against them, they stopped the run before Kenneth Walker was able to explode in that fourth quarter. Um, and Penn State, while they're not a great passing offense per se, since Michigan State's passing defense is suspect, that's the area where if Penn State's not running the ball, they could take advantage there. So I don't know. Penn State, I have a feeling it's going to get the upset here. I'll go ahead and keep Michigan State winning it now by 1 point, 21-20, since it's senior night at home for Michigan State, but I could totally be wrong there. Especially with Penn State and James Franklin, getting a 10-year new mega deal. So it looks like he's out of the USC and LSU running, stuff like that. 5, you got 14 Wisconsin versus Minnesota. Now this game is very interesting here because it's a rivalry game. If Wisconsin wins this, they get to go to the Big Ten championship game, which is amazing after their 1-3 start to the season. Because if they lose this game and then Iowa beats Nebraska, then Iowa would go. But I feel like Wisconsin, with their good defense, will shut down Minnesota's offense. It's been very hot and cold, very consistent all year, despite it being at home in Minnesota. So I'm going to have Wisconsin winning 28-14. 6, you got Oregon State versus 11 Oregon in the Civil War rivalry. Because Oregon got embarrassed on national TV last week, we know the good teams, when they get embarrassed, they usually bounce back the next week. Like, for example, Oregon lost against Stanford, but then they bounced back the next week and won. So I feel like this is a game where Oregon will win. But because Oregon State's good and all that, I feel like they'll keep it close. So I have Oregon winning 28-20. So you have North Carolina versus 20 North Carolina State. That's a Friday night game, ESPN. This game can go either way here because North Carolina's I feel like because North Carolina's defense is that bad and Sam Howell's been kind of banged up, I do feel like this is a game for NC State to win. And NC State definitely is not only senior night and all that, but also they win this game, then Wake Forest were to fall, then NC State gets to go to the ACC championship game, so a lot riding for them. And now you can say because North Carolina's playing with house money, basically, they may end up getting the upset here, which they totally could. But I do feel like in the NC State's just too much to overcome, so I'm winning by a touchdown, 34-27. 8, you got 23 Clemson, who's now in the rankings, versus South Carolina. 7:30 AC Network Saturday night game there. I feel like this will be a close game. And what the experts think, because South Carolina has been playing very well the past couple weeks, being very good on defense and kind of being the game manager on offense type of thing. They beat Auburn this past week. So I do feel, and they're at home, senior night rivalry game. South Carolina's if this is going to be your South Carolina fan gets upset in this rivalry this year. But I do feel like since Clemson found their mojo back, while they're not going to blow out South Carolina by any means, because I don't think they'll cover, I do feel like they'll in the end get this win here to stay ranked 7th, winning 24-21. 9, you got 15 Texas A&M versus LSU 5-6. This is a very important game for LSU here, because if they win this game on almost senior night, then they get to be bowl eligible. So Ed Orgeron can then have one more game to coach, before he steps away. And because the way A&M plays, they're not a high scoring offense. They're not going to get you in a shootout. They want to win with being competent offense and then stout on defense. Well, that's a fine game for LSU to play because, as we saw with LSU against Arkansas and LSU against Alabama, they can win that ugly type of way as well. So I expect that to be the case once again. But because of A&M's talent and all that, I feel like they'll, in the end, still get the win here, 20-13. And then for number 10, you get the Iron Bowl here, 3 Alabama versus Auburn. Because Auburn's starting back quarterback and they're caught in the downhill here, I'm going to have Alabama win this game easily. But the reason why this is top 10 games because, with rivalry games, you literally just never know. Anything can happen. So I have Alabama win 37-13 here. Now, I do want to go over my 3 biggest lines I disagree with for this week. One I've already mentioned with Clemson versus South Carolina. Clemson's favored by 11 points. I'm like, that's too much. I know they spanked Wake Forest, but it's like South Carolina defense is better than Wake Forest. And then South Carolina offense is not better than Wake Forest, but they're not. But again, with South Carolina's defense being way better than Wake Forest, offense kind of makes it even, especially with this being a home game for South Carolina. If this was at Clemson, maybe a totally different story, but it's at South Carolina. So that's why I only had Clemson win by 3, so definitely take South Carolina the points here. Next is Iowa versus Nebraska. Iowa's only favored by 1 or 2 points. And Nebraska's starting quarterback is out for this game. Iowa's going to win this game easily now with that bit of information. Because with Nebraska, they're going to compete, making one possession, but now with that starting quarterback, Iowa's going to win. So I have them winning. And then last but not least, Notre Dame versus Stanford. Notre Dame's favored by 19 points here. I'm actually going to take the over there. I think they're going to win by more than 19. Stanford's just been on the deep decline recently, and Notre Dame's just been on a roll recently, too much on a roll recently. So I feel like Notre Dame will win by more than 19 points here. So take the over there. So last but not least, I do want to go ahead and talk about the big news in the NFL as far as Taysom Hill's contract goes. Because as my boy, alma mater and all that. And I've talked about him in the past. You guys know how I feel about him, so you guys are probably wondering what my thoughts are here with that contract that he has. And to review the contract, he signs a 4-year deal that's worth $40 million, so $10 million a year, and he gets $22.5 million guaranteed, which is a lot. But that's all for the hybrid rule, because if he becomes a starting quarterback, and that means he has to take at least 224 passing attempts that season. So if he becomes a starting quarterback, then that goes from $40 million all the way up to $95 million. So what does this all mean? Well, you can look at it two ways. One, you can look at it as, okay, yeah, if we need a starting quarterback, we'll use it. You have a chance to make more money there. But with this, $40 million deal and $22 million guaranteed investment, we really want you to start being just a Swift Army knife. Or you can look at it the opposite way. It's like, well, if they still want to pay him that much and think he's still starting quarterback, then that means he should be starting the rest of the year if he's healthy. And then he looks like he might be in another off-season battle again this year, like he was this past year. That means the door's still technically not shut him after all, like I thought once Winston won the job and Simeon's been started, basically. So there's two different ways to look at it there. I do feel like Taysom Hill should get another shot to start. Now he's going to be in a bad situation even if he does start for this year because of all the weapons that are out for the Saints. Because Taysom Hill had all the weapons when he started the 4 games last year. And so it's going to be interesting how he would look without those weapons this time around. But again, it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens there. And then last but not least, over the weekend, Florida head coach Dan Mullen got fired, which is pretty interesting because he's been to 2 SEC championship games. I'm okay with the firing because throughout the whole time there, Dan Mullen never was able to find the right defense score, never got the defense right in general, which Florida is known for defense. And then also, I know you can make the case that, well, the quarterbacks are just simply not good, and even Dan Mullen came across it. But Dan Mullen had Dak Prescott, who turned into an NFL quarterback. He went Kyle Trask, a career back of high school to starting in college. Same with Felipe Franks, who's not even that great of a quarterback in my opinion. So it's just so he can't use that excuse, oh, well, my quarterback's just naturally bad. It's like, well, no, you can turn quarterbacks into good. We've seen you do it many times. So it's like, so that's why I feel like it was the right decision. I feel like he'll either get a offensive coordinator job in the NFL or maybe even at a high profile place like a Clemson or something. Or if he still wants to be a head coach, and he'll just go to head coach in the G5 ranks. But that's my thoughts on Florida there. So thank you very much. Listen to my podcast today. Please subscribe my channel, trying about me. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Spend time with family, stay safe and all that. And y'all have a wonderful week. Enjoy some football.